All right, give me another clip.
Is what Hamas did on October the 7th an act of terrorism?
I think, Pierce, it is peddling asininities for you to pretend that enslaving people...
So you sound like Jeremy Corbyn.
No, let me answer the question.
15 times he refused to answer the question.
Let me answer the question.
You're now up
I'm
to
not
about...
refusing.
You're now about 3 or 4.
If you look...
Are they a terror group or not?
They're one team's freedom fighter, and they're deemed a terrorist
What do
group.
you think?
I think that if you lock people in an open-air prison and steal their land, they're going to retaliate.
So they're not a terror group?
I think they're going to retaliate.
They're not a terror group?
One team's terrorist is another
Okay, we're
team's
now up
freedom
to
fighter.
about 8. Are they a terror group?
And also, another thing I want to make clear to you, Pierce.
Only Jeremy Corbyn has done this.
Done what?
Refused to answer the question.
I think that what they are doing is seemingly deemed an act of terror by the people that the terror...
Don't use weaselly words.
They're not weaselly. Of course the Israelis think they're a terror group, and of course the Palestinians think they're freedom fighters. It's stupid that you're asking the question.
Most of the civilized world thinks they're a terror group who committed an act of terrorism. It's not difficult. What they did was an act of terrorism.
And I think that if Israel continues to conduct acts of terrorism on the Palestinian people, they're going to do nothing but strengthen the reaction.
That's a different conversation I'm about to have with you about Israel's response. But before I get there, one more time, is Hamas a terror group who committed an act of terrorism?
I think that when you lock people in an open-air prison, you're going to have to expect retaliation.
No,
because I have to... There's people who are... First things I want to say, Pierce.
If you don't mind me saying, I think it's spineless.
Sure.
I do.
That's fine.
You sound like Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, that is an insult.
Did you see my interview with him?
No.
Right, 15 times last week, I asked him the same question. 15 times he prevaricated and wouldn't answer. Eventually, when someone does that enough times, you know what they really think.
Okay.
You don't think they're a terror group.
Well, let me answer.
You don't think they're a terror group.
No, what I think is this. On certain
Because I'd be really curious what you think an act of terror is if it's not massacring 1,500 innocent people, including Holocaust survivors, kidnapping babies, decapitating people, cutting their limbs off, raping women.
Yeah, talk about missing limbs. We're going to talk about that when we talk about what Israel has done.
But when we get there, it'll be in the context of you not admitting that was an act of terror.
Well, let me answer the question for the final time. I am a realist. And as a realist, sometimes you do not come to the conclusion of labeling good guys and bad guys. The world is not black and white.
Hamas are bad guys.
No, the world is not black and white. The world is actually very gray. Anybody who sits and thinks there's clearly a good guy,
there's nothing gray about what Hamas did,
and clearly a bad guy does not understand how the world works. And as a realist, what you do is you look at scenarios and you understand why they happen, how unfortunate they are, how unfortunate the loss of human life is, how civilians die on both sides, how innocents are dying in a chess game played by the elites on both sides. Both sides, you have innocent people who didn't even vote for the person making the decisions, who are ensuring their death, signing their death warrants. It's unfortunate on both sides. But listen, sir, you would not advocate Russia doing any of the things to Ukraine that Israel is doing to Palestine. You would not sit here...
Russia has been doing exactly that.
Russia has not done a fraction of the things to Ukraine that Israel has done to Palestine.
Russia illegally invaded a sovereign democratic country and has committed a barbaric rampage, trying to seize as much of Ukraine as it can, bombing maternity hospitals, killing innocent women and children.
Let me ask you a question.
Right? Don't even try and have some kind of
this is genuine
equivocation of this.
I will. A Hamas rocket, a tiny Hamas rocket that can make a pothole in the road, and then they get hit back with cruise missiles.
Make a pothole in the road and blow people up. What do you mean pothole? It's not there to make potholes.
A drone attack. It did nothing. It damaged some shingles. If Russia decided to then respond with a missile attack on a hospital and annihilate 800 people,
it has been.
Do you think that would be allowed?
That's exactly what it has been.
Would you advocate for that?
Because Hamas uses the hospitals
as a headquarters. Have you seen the state of Mariupol, which they leveled to the ground?
The Ukrainians did level it, you're correct.
No, the Russians
2014.
The Russians leveled Mariupol.
And my question to you is, would you advocate those reactions? Let me ask you another question, Pierce. This is a genuine question. Let me ask you a question.
This is crazy. You know, it's funny, it's Woke Wednesday, and he's not woke. He's not everything that diverges from some totally present mainstream right-wing or left-wing paradigm is necessarily woke, okay? He's not. He's a kind of a right-winger. He's like a Muslim-ish brute, I guess. You know, he's not... He's got aspects of right-wingedness to him, and then he's got a very modernist streak to him. And an apparently amoral, at best, streak. He claims to be Muslim, but, you know, anywho, it's complicated with him. But I wouldn't call him a lefty or a woke person. But he's also just not right about what terrorism is. Right now, go to genucel.com/Knowles. I've got a Christmas gift idea that is sure to make you the hero of the season. We all know that the holidays get a little hectic. The shopping, the cooking, the never-ending list of things to do. Well, fear not, because I've discovered a gift that is not just thoughtful, it's downright transformative. That is the gift of Genucel skincare. From now until Christmas, Genucel's most popular package has a special discount just for our listeners at genucel.com/Knowles. Treat yourself and your loved ones to the absolute best skincare in the world. Those troubling forehead wrinkles, fine lines, skin redness, and yes, even a sagging jawline will disappear right before your eyes with Genucel's most popular collection. Genucel promises immediate effects. You'll see results in less than 12 hours, guaranteed, or your money back. Genucel made Christmas come early this year. They sent down a ton of products for our office, and everyone looks way hotter now than they did before. Simply the best out there. Go check out Genucel. You deserve to look and feel your best this season. Go to genucel.com/Knowles to get this incredible Christmas discount. Every order today is instantly upgraded to free express shipping. genucel.com/Knowles, Knowles today. Andrew Tate could say in a totally coherent way, he could say, I disagree with the very existence of the state of Israel. I think the regime is illegitimate. I don't agree with whatever Zionism. I don't agree with, I think that the Israelis should go back to Europe or something. You could say all of those things and still admit that the Hamas terror attack was a terror attack. And he could do that because the definition of terrorism is not contingent upon whether or not you like this regime or this nation state or these borders or those borders. Terrorism is when you target civilians to achieve a political end. That is obviously what Hamas did. This is why we have the Geneva Convention protections, which is to afford certain luxuries to combatants in times of war if they follow certain rules, chief of which is don't target civilians. Because when you target civilians, that's an act of terrorism. So they obviously are that. That is what they do. And I guess what Andrew Tate could say is, I support that kind of terrorism. But he doesn't want to say that because it doesn't sound good if you say, I support terrorism. So he's got to walk around it, and he uses the silly line, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, as if to say that all of these issues are merely subjective. They're just from one's own personal perspective. But that's not true. We actually have reason, and we can reason about these things. This is why there's an entire notion of just war theory, justice in going to war and justice in conducting war. And under no even mildly serious reading of just war theory can you defend what Hamas did. Keep going.
Let me ask you a question, because I want to understand your point of view.
It's actually my interview of you.
Yeah, but you tried to understand mine. I just want to understand your point of view. Mm-hmm. If I believed, or if Israel believed, that one of the people in your house was a terrorist and decided to destroy your entire house and kill your entire family, would you sit and say, well, maybe there was a terrorist inside, I accept that? Or would you be enraged? Genuine question.
I don't think you can take an individual person's response.
Well, it's a bunch of individual people in Gaza. They're individuals with thoughts and dreams and aspirations which are being annihilated. 15-year-old girls without legs because of cruise missiles.
Let's come to that.
They are individual people. They're not cattle, Piers.
Let's come to
They're
that.
people.
Right, and so were the people in Israel on October the 7th.
And that's why it's so heinous, which is my exact point.
But not heinous enough to reach your bar of terrorism.
It's not about reaching bar of terrorism. It's understanding why things happen.
By not saying it, you've made your position clear. Just as Jeremy Corbyn did. And to pretend you're any different is ridiculous.
Yeah, Andrew Tate is almost making a point, which is a criticism of the Israeli policies in Gaza, or the fact that Gaza has effectively been a kind of an open-air prison, or the recognition that it's basically an impossible situation. I think one could make a serious argument for those things. What you can't make an argument for is that Hamas is not a terrorist group. They do, if that word has any meaning at all, they are terrorists. And then he falls back on one of the stupidest platitudes. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, which is to just concede our entire reason. It's to say, no, we can't, there's no such thing as objective truth. We can't look at this in any way detached from our own personal passions about a subject. But that's not true. You can say, no, this army wore uniforms, came from a legitimate authority, targeted military targets, made sure that their military attack was proportional. meaning not in terms of the number of casualties, but in the war aims, made sure that the good to be achieved was greater than the evil that would be done in the commission of it, made sure that the war was being undertaken from good motives, meant this, that, and the other thing, checked all of the boxes. It's not like just war theory is some new idea that just cropped up. We've known about it since Cicero, okay? It's developed over a long period of time. But he just throws his hands up in the air. That's the most woke part of what he just said. Forget about Israel or Palestine. The most woke part of what he said is this subjectivism, this relativism, to say, well, what is terrorism anyway? You know, man, like when you really think about it. Man, that was a great clip, huh? Now, hey, whoa, hold up. You got to ring that bell. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.